Hello everyone, it's the Mangoose, and today we are doing our monthly manga review, December edition. I read so many great titles and I'm super excited to share them all with you. And as always, I'd love to know if you have read any of these. If so, what are your thoughts on these mangas? And of course, what are you currently reading as well for the month? I love to hear about what you guys are reading and what you guys are currently collecting as well. So let's go ahead and jump into the first manga that I read this month, and that is the Quintessential Quintuplets Volume 2. Now, if you don't know what the Quintessential Quintuplets is about, it follows the protagonist Uesugi, who is very academically gifted. He ends up getting hired to tutor quintuplets who recently moved to his town, who will do literally anything but study, and they are not academically gifted at all. So it really doesn't help that they don't get good grades without studying, and they don't want to study in the first place. But the first volume was very good. I enjoyed it a lot, so I was very excited to jump into volume 2. Now, in my opinion, this was a great continuation of the first volume. It's still highly entertaining, it still has comedic elements, and it was also a lot more heartfelt. We got to see more insight into the quintuplets' lives this time around, and there was a lot more character depth, which I really enjoyed. Instead of it just being these silly quintuplets who don't want to study, we got to see a more human and emotional side of the quintuplets. I really enjoyed the added dramatic elements into the story. There were still the rom-com type elements as well that stayed around from the first volume, but with some added drama, which kind of spiced up the story a little bit. And overall, it's just a great second volume, and I really can't wait to see what happens from here in the third volume. Alright, and next manga that I read for this month was Zom 100 Volume 2. Now, if you don't know what Zom 100 is about, I'll give you a quick synopsis. It follows Akira, the main character on the cover right here, and he works for a soul-sucking corporation until one day a zombie apocalypse hits, and instead of being in fear for his life, he is just overjoyed with the fact that he does not have to work for this corporation anymore, and he sets out to achieve all of the goals that he never had time to accomplish by making a bucket list and trying to do them during a zombie apocalypse. The first volume was really good. I loved it so much. The artwork was great, and this volume was just a great continuation of that. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit nervous after the first volume of what direction that they would head in, because a lot of it revolved around Akira that kept making these jokes about, oh, it's better than working for a soul-sucking corporation. I guess the zombie apocalypse is better than working here. So I didn't really know like where they would go and the longevity of the story and how it would hold up, but this volume was really good. I enjoyed the arc in the story. Akira is such a great main character in my opinion, and something that I loved in this volume was that it was actually a little bit darker and more unforgiving. It kind of grounded me and reminded me that these characters were still in a zombie apocalypse. Rather than getting up to all their silly shenanigans, there was a little bit more darker elements in this volume. I mean, they still got up to some wild and crazy antics, but I really love those elements though in this volume because it just added more layers into the story. And of course, I still love the artwork in Zom 100. It's one of my favorites that I've been reading so far. And the arc in this second volume was really funny. It was dramatic. It was suspenseful. And I honestly can't wait to see what they do in the third and fourth volume that are already out. I've already got those ordered and I cannot wait for them to come in. So Zom 100 is a great read if you haven't checked it out yet. I highly encourage you to do so. Okay, so next manga that I read this month was definitely one of my more enjoyable reads, and that is Kiruru Kill Me. Now, this was a very entertaining, funny, and ridiculous read, but ridiculous in a good way. And what the story is about is it follows the main character Nemo, who is a part of this family pharmaceutical empire. He works on like all of these new drugs, and he has all of the money in the world, but what he doesn't have is true love until one day he comes across Kiruru on the front cover here at a party. And for Nemo, just seeing and interacting with Kiruru one time was love at first sight for him. So what does Nemo decide to do? He decides to hunt down Kiruru and find her so he can interact with her more. But what he ends up finding out is that she is actually an assassin. So Nemo's plan is to put a hit on himself so Kiruru will come after him, and he can then in turn spend more time with her in a weird kind of way. Like I said, the story is ridiculous, but it's very funny at the same time. So yeah, Nemo is willing to get possibly assassinated just to spend more time with Kiruru. And it's not even like quality conversation. It's just her coming after him the entire time because that's her job. And the great thing about the story is Kiruru has no idea that Nemo is the one who put out the hit on himself. So she thinks after all of these constant attempts of trying to assassinate him throughout the volume that she's just failing whoever hired her for the hit, when in reality Nemo is super happy that she just keeps trying and trying and trying because he gets to inadvertently see her more often. So it's like a very weird, interesting dynamic, but it's really fun and playful. But Nemo has to always be on high alert, and I don't know about you guys, but that would stress me out to the maximum. Just always having to peek around the corner and check my back to make sure no one's trying to assassinate me at all times. But hey, anything for love, I guess. Now, my only concern with this manga is that it could possibly get a little bit repetitive. I hope that it doesn't, just because it's the same kind of cycle of kiruru trying to assassinate her target, which is Nemo, and Nemo constantly trying to get away. I hope that they interact a little bit more in the second volume and maybe form some kind of relationship. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I really enjoyed the first volume, and I honestly can't wait to see what Nemo and kiruru get up to in the second one. Alright, so next up is Bad Boys Happy Home, my first ever yaoi read. Now what the story is about is Akamatsu on the cover right here is a teenager with a lot of pent-up frustration, and he just wants to take it out by fighting someone, which he ends up doing by meeting Seven right here in a park, who he ends up finding out is actually homeless. So what Akamatsu does is go to the park pretty much every single day just to fight Seven. That's like their only relationship at all in the beginning. And from there, once Akamatsu actually finds out that Seven is homeless, he invites him to stay and live with him in his apartment just so he can keep regularly fighting him. Now, in my opinion, the beginning of the story was a little bit clunky. Like, Akamatsu's reasoning for fighting was literally just, I'm an angry teenager and I want to take out my frustrations. I'm hormonal. I don't know, it might have been lost in translation in the English version, but I thought it was just like a little bit weird for reasoning just to fight every single day. But after that, the story progressed very nicely, and I honestly started to fall in love with both Akamatsu and Seven as characters. The relationship between Seven and Akamatsu is great in my opinion. Seven helps Akamatsu open up a lot. He acts like he has this really tough exterior, but inside I think he's a big softie, and Akamatsu gives Seven a place to live, and their relationship, or friendship I should say, kind of progresses from there. And I'm not gonna lie, things got a little hot and heavy in the first volume, but that led to Akamatsu opening up about some certain things in his life, and there's a few things that they alluded to in this first volume that I'm really hoping that they address in the second volume, because they ended on a cliffhanger. I have a ton of questions about this, and I can't wait to read the second one for that reason alone. I also really am hoping that they dive into Seven as a character more, because as a surface level character he was really good, and there's a lot of unanswered questions about him still, so I'm really hoping that they address those in the second volume. There's just a lot of layers that I'm waiting for them to uncover. Overall, Bad Boys Happy Home, it started out a little bit slow and clunky in my opinion, but it picked up momentum and it honestly did not stop from there. It was a really enjoyable read, and I'm excited to see where it goes in the second volume. Okay, and second to last manga that I read this month is My Wife Has No Emotion. Now, I was really excited to get into this, and I enjoyed it as a story a lot. If you don't know what this story is about, it follows Takuma, who's just very busy all the time. He's constantly working, doesn't have time for much, so he hires Mina on the front cover here to do household chores and duties for him while he's gone. Well, one day Takuma drinks a little bit too much and jokingly says that Mina should become his wife. Mina kind of takes it seriously, and so does Takuma. So from there, he ends up kind of getting married in a way to Mina, who's just a household robot. Now, my only kind of criticism for this story was that I felt like their love was kind of rushed. Like, they just kind of were like, oh, let's get married, and then they got married. I was kind of hoping that there was a deeper connection formed, and maybe it's going to be like more so after the fact that they got married. But aside from that, I really did enjoy this volume. Either way, for me, it was very entertaining to see a robot possibly develop emotions through love and affection with a human. And honestly, Mina is such a great character. She's one of my favorites that I've read about so far. She's super funny and very direct with everything that she says, just because she's a robot and she doesn't take emotions into account. And we also get to see Takuma kind of transitioning from just treating Mina like a household robot to an actual human being and his wife, which is really cool. And for me, there's also this element of, oh, Mina is a robot and she's programmed to just obey all orders. So is she actually in love with Takuma, and does she actually want to marry him for the right reasons, or is she just doing so because she was programmed to obey all orders? So there's like an interesting dynamic that I feel like there's some unanswered questions around. So I'm really looking forward to the second volume for that reason alone. And another highlight in this manga is Takuma's sister. She's very funny as well, and her relationship with Mina was really interesting, and I'd love to see that be explored more so. But overall, My Wife Has No Emotion Volume 1 is a very cute and endearing story with a lot of great moments within it, and I'm really excited to get Volume 2. I know that it's already out, so I'm gonna try and get that as soon as possible because I'd love to see where this story goes. Okay, and last but not least, the final manga that I read this month is Rainbow and Black. Now this might have been my favorite read of the month just because I resonated with it a lot and it was just a very entertaining read. Now if you don't know what the story is about, it follows Kuro right here on the front cover, and she sees everything in black and white in the world. Now I'm not gonna lie, when I read the synopsis and it said that she only sees things in black and white, I thought that it literally meant that she only sees things in black and white, but it's more so like a metaphor. So yeah, that's my bad, but it's still a very good story. It's very entertaining. And what happens is Kuro is walking home one day when she comes in contact with this little guy right here, and he's just sitting in a cage in an alley. So Kuro decides to take him home and kind of look after him until she finds a home for him, or if their owner comes to claim him. And his name is Nichi, and he's an exotic animal who is referred to as a happy mouse. And basically Nichi is awesome. He's super funny, and he is kind of like a parrot in a way. Like he can parrot words that Kuro says or her mom, and he learns things very quickly. He picks up on things very quickly as well. And also Nichi is just so cute. Like look at him, he's absolutely adorable in my opinion. If these creatures existed, I would 100% adopt one if I could. The story basically unfolds from there. They kind of develop a relationship, and what she ends up finding out is this species of animal actually picks one person that they love and want them to be their so-called partner for the rest of their life. So Kuro actually has a decision to make whether she wants to keep it or not, and there's just a lot of great moments in here. It's a very lighthearted and entertaining read. It's kind of quicker as well, but honestly I feel like the happy mouse as a breed would be kind of like what dogs would be if they could talk, because Nichi's just always nagging Kuro. He's always around her no matter what she's doing. If she's bathing, he wants to bathe with her. If she's sleeping, he wants to sleep in bed with her. When she leaves for school, she has to say goodbye to him as well. So he's very clingy and he's very smart, but it's a really cool story because it seems like Nichi is gonna bring some color to Kuro's world, and I really resonate with that because she sees things in black and white a lot, and for me I kind of think like that, where things are either black or white but the world is gray. So this manga actually kind of helps realize that as well. So it's a very good read. It's kind of quicker. The dialogue within the manga isn't too thick. Like I kind of blew through this really fast, so I'm excited to read the second and I think third volume is out as well. But Rainbow Black is a really good read. If you want something that's like not too crazy serious or intense, I would definitely recommend it. I'm honestly super excited to see the bond with Kuro and Nichi grow more in the upcoming volumes, hopefully. But that's it for our monthly manga review. I read a lot of great titles this month. I'm really looking forward to getting into some new titles and also continuing some mangas that I'm currently reading as well. As always, let me know what your thoughts are on these manga. If you haven't picked them up, do you plan on picking them up? And what are you currently reading as well? I'll see you all next video, which will be a manga haul, which I'm very excited about. And I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day and enjoy whatever you're currently reading or collecting. I will see you next time.